Welcome to the Dealreporter Podcast. Hello, I'm Juliana Needham. Joining me today are Alex Tarrant to talk about the big pharma deal, AstraZeneca and Pfizer, and Francesca Micheletti, Dealreporter's competition reporter, who's over in London from Brussels. She's here to talk about Telefonica Deutschland's and E+, which has seen the clock stopped by the European Commission on its review of the deal. Now, the news recently has been dominated by two big potential takeovers of European companies, Alstom and AstraZeneca. Alstom, the French group, has received a binding offer from GE for its energy business, but the French government doesn't seem to like the deal, which paves the way for Germany's Siemens to step in. Siemens has said it will consider making an offer, but it won't be pushed into it. In the UK, we have AstraZeneca and a potential bid from Pfizer. Now, Alex, this is getting political, like the Alstom deal. AstraZeneca, Pfizer's getting political.
Yes, they had a good old debate about it in the House of Commons. The Business Secretary, Vince Cable, fielded questions from all sides of the House about the government's ability to intervene and block the deal if they didn't like the promises given by Pfizer about how it would manage AstraZeneca in terms of jobs and R&D investment if the deal does go ahead. In the House, Cable said it was hard for him to block it under current laws. The public interest part of the Enterprise Act would allow him to block something on media plurality grounds, financial stability grounds, or if it was a matter of national security. And he noted it's probably hard to argue that it's any of those three. Labour wants the law changed, but as Cable noted, it's quite hard for the government to block it at the moment under current laws.
Yeah, and interesting parallels to the Alstom deal. Now, the CEOs of AstraZeneca and Pfizer go to the parliamentary committees next week. What can those committees do, if anything?
Well, in terms of binding commitments on government, the committees can't really do anything there. But the way politicians can jump on the deal, and this is what particularly Labour MPs on the committees are going to try and do, is try and get promises out of the Pfizer CEO, Ian Reid, about how he will treat the AstraZeneca workforce and how he will treat the R&D climate in the UK. They're going to try and get on-the-record commitments from him above and beyond what he's already said in his open letter to David Cameron. And this is how politicians can really make it difficult and effectively perhaps block the deal. One Labour MP on the committee told me if the government really cared, it could make this very hard for Pfizer. And
there have been a couple of bumps already. What do we expect to see now?
Well, there was trader talk on Thursday that there could be a new offer over the weekend. AstraZeneca's share price was up a couple of percent on that. We'll obviously have to wait and see. AstraZeneca's talking itself up a lot. It's talked about its independent strategy, how its revenues are going to blossom over the next 6 years or so, and it's really trying to, it seems, bid up the price for itself or remain as an independent company. So it's going to be an interesting to and fro between the two companies still.
OK, thanks, Alex. Now, Francesca, the EC stopped the clock on the E+ Telefonica Deutschland review. What does it mean, and on what occasions can the EC use the stop the clock in merger reviews?
The EC formally stops the clock when it has issued a request for information to the merging parties and the parties have failed to meet the deadline set by the EC. In practice, a stop the clock occurs when the EC feels it needs more time to analyze a certain deal, meaning that it needs to more market analysis, or, as in this case, to analyze the remedy package better. A stop the clock is not very frequent in merger review, but we have seen one very recently with the parallel review of another mobile telecoms deal, Telefonica and Hutchinson in Ireland, where the EC stopped the clock for just over a month. Presumably also to allow more time for tweaking of the remedy package.
And in the E+ Telefonica Deutschland case, what remedies are at stake and what hurdles are there in getting that remedy package approved?
So as in any mobile telecoms deal recently, what is at stake is spectrum divestment of frequencies, and improved conditions for access of mobile virtual network operators, MVNOs, to the parties' network. So what is being discussed is whether the frequencies offered by the parties would allow for a fourth player to effectively enter the German market and compete with them. and on the MVNO side, whether the conditions are enough to strengthen competition coming from these mobile virtual network operators.
And what's the EC looking for in this case?
Well, the EC has said on several occasions that it's keen to see a fourth player enter the German market to compensate for the loss of one competitor, which would effectively happen if the parties were allowed to merge. The entry of a fourth player on the German market is seen as difficult, if not unlikely. So we will need to see over the next few weeks whether the EC can be convinced that 3 players are enough on a market as a German one, or whether it will see competition coming from MVNOs as enough to compensate.
And how long is the clock stopped for?
There is no visibility at the moment on how long the clock is stopped for. It doesn't have a deadline. As we said, in the Irish case, 1 month was the duration. 1 month seems a reasonable time. There are not, I repeat, not many stop-the-clock cases recently, so we don't really have a measure, but 1 month seems reasonable, if not long.
Okay, thank you, Francesca. Thank you, Alex, and thank you for listening.